Hi, welcome to Binge Buddies, no wrong time to rock. With me, your host is always Bryan Dressel. With me, as always, is Matt, Zombie Dog, Bouncin Boy Dykes.
Bouncing Boy? What the hell?
I didn't even
Is
look
he
him
just
up.
like a beach ball with a face?
I have no idea what he is, but it just made me think of you.
I'm not sure how to take that.
My recollection is that Bouncing Boy refers to like a infant or toddler.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I pictured. I have no idea what the character is, but I pictured a baby.
Baby Man. And your nickname is Baby Man.
Yeah, I like it. Instead of Zombie Dog, it's Baby Man. Oh, what a downgrade.
We're sticking with Zombie Dog. I've had like things made up with that name on that is staying.
I guess that's fair. Anyhow, we also have Alex Lagoon Boy Orona.
See, I like Lagoon Boy.
That's a
What's
good
with
one,
all
right?
the boy ones this week, though? I mean, like, I'm gonna be really disappointed now if Joel's not like Boy Wonder or something.
Oh, I
Well,
have
the
a good
tricky
one for
part
Joel.
about having the boy moniker is the fact that that generally means there's also a man, and
Yeah,
you're just kind of the sidekick. But is there a Lagoon Man?
Maybe Swamp Thing.
Okay.
What about Bouncing Man?
Yes, I feel like there is a Bouncing Man. Googling.
Yeah, that would not surprise me at all. It wasn't on the list that I got these off of, but there being a bouncing man would not surprise me. He's kind of in Cowboy Bebop in a way. Anyone who gets that reference is not my friend.
Yep.
Before we get too far, though, we also have Joel, Odd Man, DeWitte.
I mean,
the Lone Man.
yeah.
Oddman is what people call me all the time.
No, they call you Baby Boy.
No, they call me odd or weird.
Is it Man Baby or Baby Man?
They don't call you that. They just think of you like that.
Yeah.
That's their mental name they give you.
Because one is a man that became a baby, and one's a baby that was. I don't know how this works.
Maybe it's both.
I kind of feel like it's that thing in Roger Rabbit where the baby cartoon is
Oh,
actually
yeah.
like a grown man in a baby body.
Okay, is that Baby Man or Man Baby?
Baby
Man.
man. Because if it's a
Baby.
man baby, it's a man who's very baby-like. But Baby
Yeah.
Man, it's a baby who is a man.
I think we cracked
Baby
the code.
Man. We cracked it.
I
All
think
right,
I'm
thanks everyone for
even more
listening this week.
confused.
This has been fun.
I'm even more
That was
confused than I ever
the
was.
that was the grammar podcast from ATH. I know you're expecting to for the Peacemaker one, but we changed it up a little bit and had the grammar podcast.
Yeah, we need to make sure the proper way to talk about baby men. This is the right show for it, in a way. Especially next week. Is next week they talk about butt babies? That's right?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Butt
Yeah,
babies.
this is the right show for it. We're right on track. Anyhow, we're here discussing the second episode of Peacemaker this week, and I'm very excited to do it as it's another great episode. Like, this one is just I think it's just kind of a very fun ride for the first half, and then pretty good plotting for the second half. I like this episode a whole bunch. But really quick before I dive into it, where's everybody else sitting on this one?
I think it's good, but I think every time I get to watching it, I always think that first bit with the escape goes on a bit too long. It is funny, but whenever I come back to rewatching it, I always think the whole episode is about that, because it kind of feels like it takes up a lot of time in the episode. But yeah, it's good. It's not as good as the first episode, and it's not as good as I would say it's probably the worst of the season. But that's like kind of saying, oh, that blowjob that I had was the worst blowjob. You're still getting a blowjob.
Yeah, I think that they did the joke of him just falling really hard on concrete, very like multiple times but it never came back around to being funny.
Yeah, and we had that in the first episode as well already.
Yeah.
We've already had that joke, and it's kind of like, oh, let's do it again and again and again, and like, yeah,
it didn't hit the rule of threes in the way that I think that they wanted. So the escape ended up being a lot more of that. There end up going into it where he ends up going into an apartment and tying up a couple, and they're having relationship issues, and she at that point just starts to hit on Peacemaker, and he kind of starts getting into it while the The gentleman was very upset at his partner for doing that.
That I love. I think that's the best
so much.
sequence in that whole sequence. That's the best bit of it by far.
Y'all ever seen Four Rooms?
No.
No.
It was a movie, 4 different stories, and there was one where it was a couple that were doing something like similar, where the husband had kidnapped the wife and was like, because she'd been quote unquote cheating on him, and whoever they would like call the bellhop and who like call for service, and whoever would show up would be the person who she was cheating with, and they would do like this weird role play where there was like a gun involved, and that's what kind of this reminded me of. It was very funny.
I can see that. Joel, where'd you land on this episode?
I disagree completely on that falling bit. That might be rivaling my funniest moment. Like, he has such a hard fall each time, and I love the fact that he is the superhero, but he's also he is very damageable. I like that about him, and it just like every time that he is hurt more and more made me laugh hard. I do agree that the couple's counseling, let's say, was probably the funniest moment of that whole sequence.
Counseling. Good word.
Yeah, well,
Jesus Christ, if that's what couples counseling's like, save your money. Just get a divorce.
Or, you don't want to kink shame here.
Yeah, if you're into it.
Well, that's cuckolding though. That's not couples counselling.
Everyone has their own version of therapy.
language is a very squishy thing. You can sort of warp it into what you like.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is language is a very flexible thing that you can just, words don't have to mean what they mean.
No.
Now, you're saying that as a joke. I'm legit serious.
That's where like the escape scene ends up taking up half of the episode, and really that kind of I think like one of the highlights is end up being that couple thing, and then the rest is generally him falling from rooftop to rooftop.
I think a lot of the preamble behind that is where I feel like it runs long at. Because there's a lot of time where the supporting actors are sort of creeping around. There is some dialogue that's funny there, but between that and sort of the cops scanning the different hallways and knocking on doors, I feel like that was the sort of the slower moments that brought down the pacing.
I think the best bit of the police officers is definitely the bit where Peggy, that officer, picks it up and goes, "What's this? Pizza?" And then Detective Song's like, "Officer, put that down." Like, why? Because I think it's a face. Oh, what? A face, a human face, and then she just looks at it and goes, "Ugh."
And that actor does a really good job of portraying that kind of slow horror and realization too.
Yeah.
You can see the turn on her face very well.
It's so good.
All right, so let's start going through this thing a little bit more in line. And we've already been talking about this breakout quite a bit, but just so we kind of get it on paper. I'm breaking my own brain. But just so we kind of get out there. So the episode starts right where the episode 2 ended. And for those of you who were not watching this as it came out, the first 3 episodes were launched on the same day to be watched kind of as the pilot. So this is kind of the middle episode of the pilot. So the fact that we're all a little down on it almost makes sense. It's always a little tough to be the middle child. But I'm more on Joel's side as far as like him falling down. I could watch John Cena fall off his stuff, and with the sound design of every time he lands, you hear those pops and cracks of like you can just hear like some Foley artist just breaking celery. It's like every time. It's so good. But anyhow,
I do also want to say that like if you write that on paper, that sounds hilarious.
Yeah,
sure.
I think just one of those things. That his wrestling pre-career before this probably helps a lot with him acting out, sort of falling and feeling pain and stuff.
Oh yeah, his pretend pain chops are like as high tier as they can be.
Well, he was paid to pretend to be in pain.
Yeah,
I do think the best thing about that sequence, the early bit for me, is when he's trying to get the costume on, and it's like it's actually pointing out the issue with getting like a superhero would have getting into these rubber costumes, as he's like properly like straining. It's like, "Oh, come on, Dad."
See, for
you
me,
always
the
wonder
best bit
though,
of
like
it-
these costumes are like skin tight to the point that like they show like, "Oh, I have abs," and I'm like, how would that outfit reflect your abs unless it was like super duper like airtight, skin tight, and in this case, there's no room for you to like get your head in and then your arms in, and there's no flexibility. It's really tight.
I mean, I struggle to get jackets off sometimes in enclosed spaces.
Yeah.
Like, I was literally on the plane today, and like, I sat down, and I'm like, oh, shit, I need to get my jacket off because it's a bit warm. And I'm like, doing all sorts of weird contortions just to get this jacket off. And that jacket's not made of rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, my kids have that problem, too.
Good.
Also, again, he's just in like whitey tighties. That's Chafe City.
Oh yeah, I know. Like, it's a rubber. He's not got any undershirt or anything like that. His nipples are gonna fall off eventually.
Oh yeah. Oh, bleeding nipples.
There's gonna be a rough day there in his future.
I do want to mention in passing the going back to the tuples here, that whole scene of the man trying to pick up all the stuff and then dropping it out of the blanket over and over. That's one of those. It's kind of like the fall sequence for me too, where it's like, okay, it's funny. Okay, we're getting a little slow now on it. All right, around back to funny again. Yeah.
See, for me, the best bit of all this, beyond the couple, like I think we all agree the couple's just fucking hilarious. Especially, I don't want to spoil things for next week, but the fact that they come back in a way is just so good. But I love the fact that he had this horrible, brutal fight with this alien creature he doesn't know anything about. He blew her up in a parking lot. Things are going bad. He's calling Harcourt, who's sleeping in lingerie for some reason, who has to come rescue them. And while he's trying to figure out how to get out of everything, he's like, I think I should rob her.
Yeah, and he's like, he's getting all the stuff, and then he's like, oh yeah, that's really cute. I'll take that as well. It's just like, dude,
My
focus.
quote for the episode is in this sequence. I don't want to spoil it now, but like as he's just chucking shit into his like stick and bindle, it's just like it's so fucking funny. He's just shopping for records, and
I like as well how
where the fuck are you? And he's just like, I had to grab some stuff.
The best thing about that whole sequence as well, the one thing that he should grab, the file, is the last thing he grabs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
well,
literally the last thing. He goes, oh shit, yeah.
Why
the
did
one
he
thing
bring
he had
that
to grab
with
was
him?
that alien tech. He had to grab that for the plot to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, like of all the things like that you should grab when you are leaving the crime scene is the classified file.
Yeah. And you probably shouldn't leave that out either, which we'll get to that in a little bit here. So, is there anything else in the whole breakout sequence we didn't really mention? I really do like the Harcourt and Adebayo working together. I think they're very funny
Yes,
together.
them in the car was really good. Like, you've got the bits where Leota's like driving, and he's like, "Damn, my heart is beating. Is your heart beating?" And Harcourt's like, "No, my heart stopped beating." And then I think the best bit though is when Leota's talking about when she says when they're talking about Peacemaker and how he just fucked a butterfly, and it's like, I mean, the man's been in prison for 4 years. There's not much I believe that he wouldn't fuck. Boiled oatmeal, grapefruit, some yogurt. I am hungry.
They are a nice odd couple, the super experienced cold dead killer versus this young gun who has a little bit of experience and practice, but really having the application of it being sort of an awakening point or inflection point for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The time
And
of
My
night
wife
take,
brought up
yeah.
a good point when we were watching this of Harcourt is so good in the field. Why was she ever behind a desk in the Suicide Squad? Like, it almost feels odd. Like, because she is very, very good in the field.
But
Yeah,
I mean, we
it's
don't.
kind of. I bet there's an interesting backstory there that we don't know about. Like, was she? Was it punishment detail that she was behind the desk, or was she like a field agent who'd been to Corto Maltese and was kind of there as like almost a consultant on the sort of situation there? Had she worked there in the past? And it's quite an interesting sort of story that we're not getting about why she was behind a desk.
Yeah, that's true.
Which also could include maybe she was a consultant and actually looking at what would be good as far as the actual wet work, being a soldier and everything like that. They say you need this kind of skill and this kind of skill, so she could kind of analyze each villain that they did have in prison.
I definitely think there is a character development thread that they could pull there at a later episode.
I mean, I'd be all for a hardcore sort of origin miniseries.
I really like her. I really like her as the character. Like, I didn't really expect to after watching the Suicide Squad. I'm like, oh, it makes sense. She's in this. She'll probably be the next one. I wasn't really excited for her to be in this. And now that I've watched this whole show now a couple of times, she's one of my favorite characters. I think she does a great job.
Yeah.
I think that it also, for me, paints a picture of the world a little bit more in the way that, like, Hardcore could definitely be a superhero, but the question is, why is she not? And that's because she's, like, for me, in my head canon, the idea is that she's not a superhero because she's not an idiot.
Yeah.
Like,
I
she
could
doesn't
see her
wanna-
being more like a Maria Hill, like from Marvel. Like, I could see her that sort of character.
Yeah, she doesn't want to wear a stupid costume. She knows that it's dumb, and it kind of makes you just, like, it's really for, like, people who want to feel like feel good about themselves or have like a little bit of an inflated ego, and she's just like, no, I just got to do my job.
Yeah.
What do you mean Batman doesn't have an inflated ego whatsoever?
I mean, he kind of doesn't in The Batman.
There's also some
Well,
some
very
side
specific
stories where there always needs to be a Batman, or else the world ends, or so he thinks.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, definitely so he thinks, but you're also kind of not wrong in the same way. Like that maybe there's a Batman podcast in our future. We can talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, so if that's kind of the breakout scene, we should probably start moving on to the rest of the episode, because there is still another half episode behind this that is wildly different than the beginning, but I still think pretty funny.
There's one other part just to mention that the Hardcore
Sure.
kind of points out that when they went and got the other agent, that they noticed that she had like dogs and possibly like a family member with her in the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And that you should probably find them at a safe house because things are going to get dangerous.
Yeah, I
And
can't
I like
remember I can't remember how she puts it, but it's really well sort of like things. She said something like that back there at the hotel is a problem or something. It's dangerous or something, but she's not meaning it's dangerous for having. It's dangerous for the people
Yeah,
themselves
she says
who are
it's
there.
not safe, is it, for them?
Yeah,
And
Like,
it felt
specifically
like
for
an
that.
actual like caring moment because she wasn't like really angry about it. She was just like, "Hey, just a heads up because you're new here. This is things can get rough."
It
it's
felt
kind
to
of
me like another
a
hint at a backstory that we're like we don't get in this show. Not to ruin it for you, but it felt like another like I've been burned. Don't do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like she's had that same issue in her past, and she can kind of be a mentor to Leota in the way that like she sort of basically says to her, look, kind of like saying, don't make the same mistakes I made.
Yeah.
You know, like having people you care about around is just going to get them hurt.
It's just her general naivete. I think that's really all it comes down to.
But it did give like Hardcore like that human moment.
Yeah, which she's like very adamant that she's like, I am a human, I am a person. I'm just also I kill people for a living. Like I do government wet work. Like that's who I am. So like I like that she walks that line very well throughout the.
Yeah, she's not
entirety.
vigilante, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we haven't even gotten to him yet. And there's quite a bit of him in the back of this. Fucking love Vigilante so much.
Yeah.
He is.
But
probably
before
my
we get there,
favourite
we
character.
have to do the. Now, what you guys said earlier in this episode, where it kind of slows down for you, that's me in the team meeting. I think team meeting is very funny, and I think James Gunn leaves these scenes kind of fat intentionally because you can tell how much just riffing they do. But at the same time, for me, this one, I felt like this one runs out of gas just a hair before they start getting back on like the plot, where you find out like, oh no, this is all Peacemaker's fault, but also kind of not because no one told him what was going on. He didn't know he had to be like this secure about stuff. He should always be secure. That's on him. But info would have been helpful.
I agree. It has this weird dissonance for me where this did drag on a little bit, but then also they are talking and moving so fast that I almost have trouble keeping up with the little snapbacks and all the jokes. Kelly and I definitely like did a rewind for 30 seconds a handful of times at this part of the episode just to make sure we understood exactly what happened.
Yeah, they definitely like harp on the guy because he dyes his beard, and at a certain point, it kind of wrapped around to like at the kind of later on he references the fact that like he was just doing that to kind of feel cool, but he definitely realizes that he was like pushing that guy away in a way that like, yeah, that's not nice, and I don't know why I kept doing it. And
It's the high school thing, isn't it? He's
Yeah.
sort of he's trying to be the alpha male and showing off to everyone else, but it's not high school anymore. They're adults, so they're not going to find that funny. and they're not going to react the same way that high school kids do. Like, because I think a lot of bullies, they do it not to be horrible to the person. They do it because, you know, they feel like it makes them more popular. Like, because, oh, yeah, he's a funny guy. So I think like, when he's doing that, I think he's still in that mindset of, oh, me ragging on them, you know, they're going to find this funny, they're going to like me. And then, like, you know, he has that sort of real moment in his trailer home thing where he's sort of like being honest with himself, saying, you know, he could be a friend, but you're being horrible to him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The best thing about that scene to me, and I know Alex is probably using this for his best of at the end of this, but I just want to bring it up. The best thing of that is he's complaining about like how everyone hates him, yada yada yada. But when he is like, oh, that guy could have been a friend, he doesn't say Economos could have been a friend or John could have been a friend. He says Diebeard could have been a friend.
Yeah.
He still can't help himself even at his worst moment.
I think you know, I don't want to go too far into it yet, but I just do feel like that there's a lot of like, you know, the same thing we've kind of been saying already, which is that I do feel like there is a lot of room for growth in him, but he's just so short-sighted in everything that he doesn't think 3 steps ahead. He's always kind of like, oh, I don't know, this person told me that, so I said that's probably true. You know, and yeah, they reference that a lot where he's just like, I don't know, they said it on the internet, and it's like, well, that's not how that works.
Man, baby steps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that we kind of jumped over that we absolutely should mention is that while all this is going on, Economos had to change who Peacemaker's car is registered to, to make sure that you know, Peacemaker didn't go to jail. And Economos, he was quick on his feet, but about as dumb as possible, and does it to Peacemaker's dad.
I love his reason as well. Like when him and Mern are having that argument. And he's like, I had to act fast. I didn't know how long you were going to be in there. I didn't know if you're having a shit. And he's like, I'm not going to text you when I'm taking a shit, John.
And then he's like, why not? I would.
But that does mean that we get Robert Patrick, and I don't remember the other 2 actors' names, but I've been the guy I've been seeing in stuff since like the 90s. Like he's been around forever. The male cop.
I know him from Scary Movie. That's every time I see him, I always think of Scary Movie because I think that's the first thing I saw him in.
I think of him from that the movie with the guy from Saved by the Bell and Tom Everett Scott, where they have to kill their roommate in college to get straight A's, and he's one of the roommates they tried to get to kill himself.
I remember that movie.
That's what I always think.
I vaguely remember that. I don't think I ever watched it, but I remember seeing an advert for it.
You know, that came up recently where there was like I think an SNL joke where they made like a reference to like, if your roommate dies in college, you get straight A's. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, I think they made a movie about this, but you know, I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't think that I was right in it existing. It completely blacked out of my mind.
And that guy is in it, and that's the only reason I remember ever even enjoying the movie was because he was so funny in that movie. So it's nice seeing him pop up here and there, and I really like him in this show. I think him and the cop work so well together. Him and the female cop, like they're very funny, and like as Peacemaker's dad is just being blatantly racist to them, and he's like I'm gonna let her lead the way. She knows what she's doing here.
Yeah,
like, it's just done so well.
I can't remember what she calls him, but she's like
Fork.
No. Before that, where he says I don't like egg foo young's not my thing or something like that, and she's like. I can't remember what she calls him, but she calls him something and says, doesn't like egg foo young. Got that? And he's like, yeah, I'll make a note of that.
I'll make a note. Oh, they're funny together. But anyhow, so moving on. So they've had their conversation. Peacemaker's dad is on the hook for all of Peacemaker's stuff. So Peacemaker's now back at his cabin or his trailer, whatever you're going to call it. He's just sobbing and feeling really sorry for himself because he's such a dick. And he's very well aware of how much of a dick he is. And then his best friend shows up to save the day and the very sad moment. And just completely...
I do want to say that like it's kind of funny that they're having the team meeting and then the character's like Vigilante's just like kind of right behind the dumpster.
Oh God, that was so...
Like, what? I'm not here. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Shh, don't.
No, that's the next episode, isn't it?
Oh, that's in the next one. Yeah,
that's the beginning of the next episode.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah. No, all good.
I thought
this is why we take notes.
You got me there.
That was good. So
I'm
anyhow,
proud of that one.
yeah. So Peacemaker and Vigilante hanging out in Peacemaker's trailer. Just the intro of the whole fucking like the. Do you have your dick out? No, I don't have my dick out.
Oh my god! I tried to write that down, and I was just like, "There's too much here to write it down."
They're so fast.
Yeah.
They're just so like it's something we used to say all the time with Venture Brothers. Of they're just so unbelievably
And what we do in the
fast.
shadows, like
Yeah,
some of
and
the
what we
stuff-
do in the shadows.
What we do in the shadows was fast, but my god, that sequence! I think that might be the fastest sort of like joke I've seen whilst doing these podcasts.
Who do they reference?
Because,
Then that
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K.
Yeah.
That whole Louis C. Like the. No, Louis C.K. said that. Louis C.K. said that. I'll fucking kill that guy.
You know there is somebody who learned that for the first time watching the sequence. Because, like, I was laughing, but the thought to myself was like, I wonder who in the wider population know that about Louis C.K.
What, that he got in trouble?
That he got in trouble and specifically what it was about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, liberal bullshit. He got me too'd. I'm sure he's fine. And then they watch this show like, he did what? But that entire sequence, like we were just saying, they're so fast, but every line is a joke, and it's just so funny.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
I
just
didn't
love
really
the
know
end
Freddie
of it.
Stromos from anything else, but like now I'm like a full blown like card carrying Freddie Stromos fan. Like he's
Yeah.
so funny.
I love the way that he sort of like convinced him. I was like, dude, will you just please look at my crotch? See?
But then when he comes inside, like they start talking, and it's like, oh, this is why you guys are best friends. You're like right on the same. At least Peacemaker, prior to start like his growth train or whatever he's on now, you could see how these two were the best of best friends. They're just like a couple of idiot children who are actually killing people while playing pretend go murder the bad guys. They're just actually doing it.
Yeah.
And they're just so ridiculous about it. Like the way their conversation goes, hey, do you need help cleaning this up? Sure. And he's just picking up random things. Where does this go? With the other ones. Where does this go? With the other ones.
Oh my god, the bit where he picks up the fleshlight. Oh my fucking god. Hey, it's a funny smiley face. Hi.
There have been several times watching these shows so far where I looked at Kelly and went, oh yeah, this is an HBO show.
Oh yeah, this isn't Disney Plus. I'm taking that was one of them, Joel.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. That will be a recurring moment for me as we talk about these.
It gets worse.
Yeah,
But
it very much like is that if you are familiar with the trope of big bully and little bully, a la like Bulk and Skull from the Power Rangers, or
Yeah.
any other like bully and sidekick, they are very much Peacemaker acting tough while Vigilante very very quickly like idolizes him, but is also just like someone for him to like bounce ideas off and just kind of like.
Yeah, it's kind of like Peacemaker's
proud.
Peacemaker's kind of the bully, and then Vigilante is the kind of the guy who's behind the bully, sort of going, yeah.
But then as this show goes, and we'll find out more next week, those roles have been fully reversed.
Yeah.
It's,
Um,
yeah. You see that the like Peacemaker has had a heavy influence on Vigilante, just like in general.
Yeah. But where this all ends up going is one of the best, like, most cathartic things Peacemaker's been able to experience, I think, since this started. Like, I know he thought banging the girl last week was what he needed, but clearly that wasn't it. What he needed was to go shoot up a whole bunch of appliances with his best friend and then have a three-way with a girl that he intimidated earlier that day.
I mean, to be fair, that sequence where they are just shooting the appliances, I'm looking at it going, yeah, that looks like fun.
It looked fun as hell.
It looked fun. They have a dynamite fight.
Yeah.
That whole sequence was incredibly self-indulgent, but it also worked. It really worked.
Yeah.
It makes
It's
you wonder as
something
well, it's like, did they just sort of like shoot like way more for that, and then it was just like, right, okay, we want the episodes to be this long. However long we're a bit short, we'll just make that sequence that long. Because it just...
Go ahead.
It just feels like they could have just been literally just coming up with more and more ideas on the fly. Like where you've got Vigilante shooting the smiley face, and then Peacemaker does the peace symbol, which I love that. It's so good.
I mean, it was either that or a couple more balcony drops.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like shooting stuff off each other's junk?
Yes, they
Yeah.
were.
Yeah, there's the bit where he's holding a lamp and he shoots it, and Peacemaker starts pretending that he's just had his dick shot off, and he's like, oh! Yeah, he genuinely looks like he has more fun doing that than he did when he was banging that woman.
Oh, absolutely. Like this was what he needed to just let some steam off, and
Just
it was.
hang out with your bro, and he even says, he goes, "I got a whole bunch of more appliances."
I've been saving up appliances since you were in prison.
It's so good, but I love that it's capped off with the girl the wife that they had the whole like kidnapping scene with, and they're just sitting there smoking weed together in Vigilante because it's against the law, but not really anymore. Is just so mad about it, and it's would have shot you both in the face 3 years ago for that.
I love the idea that they had a three-way and Vigilante kept his mask on as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he did.
Oh, for sure.
Well, yeah, because Peacemaker doesn't know who he is until he still hasn't seen his face until the next episode.
Yeah.
And then I also like the fact that like it shows Vigilante does have a hard line. He has a code of ethics that he's very black and white on, and I thought that was very funny. He was like, "I would have shot you guys in the face."
Yeah. I like as well how it's not like his own personal law. It's literally the law of the land. If you break the law of the land, but he will kill you. But he himself is breaking the law of the land by killing these criminals. So I do like that sort of weird thing of where it's okay for him to do it, but if anyone else does that, he's going to kill him for it.
Oh, very much so.
I mean, it goes back to them being children. I enforce the law, but it doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, we kind of jumped over, but going back to it, we also had this moment where Adebayo had to go and intimidate / bribe that married couple, and that entire sequence is so funny of her like trying like, are you guys sure you saw what you thought you saw, and you've also had a full week paid vacation? Are you trying to fucking bribe us?
No.
It's like, oh, damn.
I'm kind of hoping you were going to bribe us.
Yeah, I'm going to bribe you. It's just that immediate switch. It's so good.
I mean, but
And
that's
this- when
that's a real world scenario, though. I feel like if that happened to me and everything ended up being just fine, and then someone came up to me and goes, "Can we give you like a couple grand or a vacation for like a week to like not talk?" And I'm like, "Well, is the guy okay? Everybody okay? Yeah, I could go on a vacation.
Yeah, I could disappear for a minute.
Yeah, no, you ain't gotta tell me twice."
But I love the when they're then in the police office, and like they have like the kind of side by side shot of the two of them being interrogated, and this like the way they film it, like them both pointing at the same photo. Like it's just such a cool little moment. Like I nerd out over that sort of stuff. I think it was just kind of fun.
Right.
But let's move into the end of this thing. So now that that's happened, his dad's got to get arrested and's got to go to jail, and then we finally find out who his dad is. And if you've been a fan of the comics, you might still not know who this guy is. I had to look him up, and when I looked him up, I'm like, oh, that guy. He's terrible.
When
I
they
mean,
first,
he's called White Dragon. He ain't going to
Yep.
be that good. Like,
I-
and all of his little cronies are doing the Nazi salute as well. So
I definitely like to do a little bit of research, and that was one of the things I had read about Peacemaker was that like there was some racist undertones with that character, and that a lot of it came from his dad, who was also racist. So when they actually found a way to play it up into the show, I thought that was cool, or how they were going to include it into the show.
I think
I like how they deal with it as well. It's like, his dad is still very racist, but Peacemaker himself clearly isn't, because he doesn't have an issue with Leota, Myrn, or anything like that really because of race. Like, the only times he ever has an issue with Myrn, I think, is when he's basically talking about how is it the first episode or something where he's like, yeah, I know who you are, or something like that. But it's more about what he's done.
Yeah.
But it's also like you can see how that his parentage might have influenced him subvertly throughout his lifetime, and then how that might have translated into his peacekeeping.
Yeah,
Quote,
and then
unquote,
it's kind of
peacekeeping.
like
Yeah.
it's kind of like the mission in Corto Maltese opened his eyes a bit more to other ways of thinking, and it's that idea of like you've been raised in like this vacuum of you've been told this is what's true, this is the truth, and then you come out of that and you see the wide world for what it actually is, and you realize no, actually everything I was taught was a lie.
And I think
And
that's
just-
more of what we're seeing a little bit here.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But just the way they end with Robert Patrick in jail is like it's just like a strong ending of like I even like the little, aren't we supposed to be sending all super villains to Arkham? Overcrowding. He's stuck here. It's like
They call them suits. I thought that was interesting.
suits.
Yeah,
Yeah, suits.
Yeah, because I like the way they just they say that as well. Because I think earlier on in the episode as well, it's like, this is not some Suits bullshit, is it, or something like that as well.
I mean,
Well, it also does a good job. Like we already had a hint at the costume. We've kind of had a hint at who he is, and then by them saying all suits, it's like, oh, everyone knows who he is.
Yeah,
Like this guy isn't just some like he's not some little peon. Like he is known and a problem, and I like the way they kind of do that without ever just like full on like, oh my god, it's the White Dragon. He's the worst supervillain of all time. Like they just do it through people's reactions to him, and it's really cool.
yeah, and they do it visually as well. So it's like you don't have to have someone saying, "Oh my god, this White Dragon, he's the worst superhero of all time." You have like a big group of literally white supremacists on their knees doing the Nazi salute, chanting "White Dragon," and that tells you all you need to know about him.
Yeah, I want a story to show me, not tell me.
Yeah.
I also I'm a big nerd for the bureaucracy around the world in superheroes, just like what is going on, how do people deal with it, and the fact that there's overcrowding, and that there's like, oh yeah, we call them suits, it's a whole thing, there's a bunch of them, they're annoying, it's like that idea
It's
is very
that
funny
it's
to me.
that idea of the superhero world and the real world colliding, and it works so well, and they do it really well.
Yeah,
in
it's-
Peacemaker, because these cops are just regular cops.
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh, don't let me get dragged into Suits bullshit, and it's like, yeah, because that kind of stuff is, Suits bullshit. If you look at all the films that have come before, it's kind of like, you've got cities being leveled by these suits and things like that.
Yeah, this is an interesting contrast to the MCU in a lot of ways, but especially that sort of real-life, lived-in world that Peacemaker seems to be in. A lot of the Marvel stuff, you can see, like, knockdown effects, but a lot of the kind of, like, real-world impacts, the way that characters outside of the superheroes act, are very squeaky clean, and also just don't feel genuine. Right? There's going to be a lot of darkness to the world around you if you live in a world of superheroes and you're seeing them constantly doing things that are either unbelievable or things that you'd be in jail for. So it's interesting how that colors people's feelings in this show.
And especially considering that, like, if you think about those comic books, there are heroes upon heroes, hundreds and hundreds of heroes at any given time, and not every hero is Superman. Again, you have people like Polka Dot Man. So these people have seen the aliens and the giant like robotic mechs and the geniuses, but they've also seen, like, I don't know, that one guy who wore a rubber mask and, like, didn't really have any powers, was just like an idiot. So that's
I
Well,
like
I
the
immediately
idea
thought
of,
of
like-
Kite Man. Like, I was immediately
Yeah,
to
I'm
Kite
just,
Man.
like, I want them to do more of that, though. In season 2, I think it'd be great if they just, even if it's just like a one-off thing, if they brought in, like, some of the, like, Condiment King.
Yeah.
Like these
Yeah.
shitty, weird fucking supervillains, which are just like, what the hell is this? And because, like, if
what
there
you
are
want is more
creatures-
suit bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want like the sort of the lamer ones.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want these like, oh well, everyone knows like Superman and all that. Like, give me some of the lame ones though.
I feel like
the
this
ones
is a-
where he's like, where it's like they're coming at you and you just look at them going, what the fuck are you doing?
And this is the perfect vehicle for something like that. It's not a
Yeah.
high-profile movie where they need to pull in people with oh, look at that character I know. This is down, ground level, down in the dumps stuff. There should be a cavalcade of D-tier heroes here.
I mean, they mentioned Batmite in this. Like, who's ever going to bring Batmite to the screen? I think James Gunn could. I mean, Batmite's, as they say in the show, a weird little like interdimensional imp that stands Batman. Like, he's ridiculous. I would absolutely love to see him in the next season. Like, that'd be hilarious, especially with no Batman there. Like, if you just have Batmite, who's just like, I love Batman. That'd be hilarious.
That would be amazing as well if he just like if he's in one episode and literally how they get rid of him is just Peacemaker just steps on him or something.
In the first Suicide Squad, one of the problems was that they like when they give you all of the villains, they kind of go over this is how they're related to the Flash and Batman and all this stuff, and like they don't need to be related to any like I would like one of these villains to say like, oh my God, you fought Batman? I've never fought any of the big guys. Just like something like that where they want to be big but they're not.
So it's like the Javelin, for example, in the Suicide Squad. I have no idea what comic book superhero he fought against. I don't know if he's fought against any of them. But I don't need to know that for his story in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, you don't need it to be compelling. You can just tell a compelling story.
I forget whether it was Brian or Alex or maybe both, but I remember being told that Guardians of the Galaxy are almost nothing but characters within the comic book series, right?
They originally weren't,
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so James Gunn did a great job at creating meaningful characters and a story that you can be invested in as sort of like more of a space opera with the first Guardians of the Galaxy. He seems very adept at taking these characters and fleshing them out into meaningful things.
I think it's clear, like when you see his comic book stuff, it's very clear that James Gunn absolutely adores comic books because he's reaching for these really obscure characters like Batmite and things like that. I think we've gone way off topic though. We're not even talking about I'm enjoying the discussion.
I think we're talking about good stuff here, but we probably should start wrapping up. We've finished the episode at this point.
White Dragon.
Yeah, White Dragon is, there he is. I'm not going to chant White Dragon. I don't need that on my conscience.
No,
but that is also I feel like a very small character that I don't think got a lot of big name press.
No. So like it's just another good example of this. But let's move into favorite moments here. And Alex, we've been kind of hinting at yours, and we kind of danced around yours, so didn't want to steal it. So why don't you go ahead and go first?
For my favorite moment is that when he gets back after the team meeting, he gets back to his trailer, and he's just like really upset and kind of beating himself up because he knows that no one really likes him. They're kind of all angry at him for how he escaped, getting into it with that lady, not knowing, like leaving his file, all of the mistakes that he kind of made, and he's crying and kind of saying like everybody hates you and. It just shows like a human moment in somebody who's full of bravado that just wants acceptance and wants to do the right thing and wants to get approval, and at this point he's not getting it, so he's just very, very upset and mad at himself.
Such a good moment.
It just feels very human.
Yeah. It's kind of that payoff that we've been waiting for since the moment with Rick Flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like, I was just thinking that. It's kind of like Suicide Squad was building up to this payoff, and we don't get it until now. And it's a really good sequence, is that?
So for a total change of pace, I'm going with the line this week, and it's when he's robbing the dead butterfly's apartment, and he finds the cookie cutter she has, and he just starts chucking them into the bag and goes, "Woohoo! I see cookies in my future."
And then there's that weird sort of like spring thing as well. It's like, oh, what's that crazy thing? And then that goes in as well.
Just like I feel like that was definitely improv, but just John Cena saying, "I see cookies in my future" was just so goddamn funny.
Like I don't even know. For a second, I was like, is that a callback to something I missed? It's just so like out there and random.
Oh dear. Which is a bit ironic, really. When you get in the next episode, you get when he's taking the snacks. It's like those are empty calories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's all in the moment. Joel, what about you?
Other than John Cena falling off a balcony several times, there was a part of the sequence with Peacemaker and Vigilante when he's Peacemaker's having that sort of like conflicting moment of trying to understand whether he's doing actual good or not. And Vigilante starts talking about like, hey, do you think I enjoy killing all these people?
Damn it! You took my moment. Mine was. I've actually got the whole thing written down.
Go ahead and read it out then, because it's
You
real
don't
good.
share. It's okay.
When I found out someone murdered an innocent person, or sold somebody heroin, or did some graffiti, and I kill that person with my bare hands, the eyeballs popping out of their skulls, do you think that gives me pleasure? No. Well, it does. It's the way that Vigilante says, "Well, it does."
Also, I just like the fact that he's like dealing heroin or does graffiti.
Does some graffiti.
Those are very different crimes.
Crime is crime, and it all deserves a
murder-
death sentence.
Murder to drugs to graffiti. That's a very, very, very steep drop there.
You left the final line off of that, which for me was the icing on that cake. Was just the how I think I had it written down the what separates us from other killers is that we only kill bad people usually,
Yeah.
unless there's a mistake.
Yes.
Now, do I sound like a fucking maniac?
Yeah, I when I was watching it again the second time, I thought, I should go and add that to my notes, and I forgot to add that bit in. But yeah, that's brilliant as well. It's capped off with, do I sound like a maniac? Yes. Yes, you do.
Yes, you certainly do. Oh my god. All right, that was everybody, right?
Yes.
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 Okay. So with that, I think we finished episode 2. Like I don't think we missed anything. Like we covered the hell out of this one,
Yeah.
which is great.
She's not some rando who blew me, man. We fully fucked.
Yeah, he definitely was bragging about that. Okay, yeah.
Oh my god.
Sorry, I just saw the line in my notes, and I was like, yeah, I've got to just say that randomly.
Yeah, you can't let that one go. All right, so before we jump into plugs, be sure tune in next week so that when we when we discuss Better Go Off Dead, which is the next episode 3, which would be the ending of the quote unquote 3-episode pilot that they released on HBO Max, and it ends with a bang. So you don't want to miss that next week. But now let's jump into some plugs for this show and every other show on the ATH Network. Be sure to check out athpod.com, where we have this show, Damage Boost, and the a D&D podcast. We have
Actual
a D&D
Play
podcast.
podcast?
There it is. Thank you. Actual Play. My God, I can't talk. It's a problem when you do podcasts. Yeah, check out Demon Days, Actual Play podcast. It's a lot of fun. My worst plugs ever are done. Joel, what about you?
I am a part of a podcast called Afterthoughts with me and my wife. We just finished Connecticut Yankee and Teen Arthur's Court, and then we will be moving on to something next. What should it be?
Dune.
Doom.
I've been hearing this low hum when I try to plug every time at the end of the episode. I'm not sure what it is.
Or, now I'm reading The Expanse. I can jump on that train too. The Expanse is also really good.
Also, yeah, what's it called? Anything Sanderson. Everyone talks about Sanderson. Get on Sanderson.
Alex, what about you?
Jonathan Mabry's good. Joe Ledger
You
series.
can find me on Twitter at ZeroRonalex. It's Ron Alex, but with a 0 in the front. I'm part of the Super GG Radio podcast, where we beta test lots of games, where we try to make sure that we will find you your new favorite game.
Matt?
Yeah, so I finished the Airsoft article and uploaded it with pictures and everything. So it's just waiting to be proofed, and then it should be going live at some point. So yeah, look out for that.
I'm actually excited for that one. I don't know enough about airsofting.
Go read it. It's up for you to read now.
I plan on it this week. Or at least it's my son's birthday this week, so this week's gonna be a bit of a mess. I plan on it at some point soon.
Take him airsofting. Oh wait, he's only 4, right?
Yeah, he's only 4. I don't think that's gonna happen, but you know.
Wait till he's 5.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
Give him a firearm.
that'll be perfect.
Well, they're not firearms because they're air powered.
I don't know.
There's
The one
no
I
fire
got.
in them.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But the one I have looks like a firearm.
Oh yeah, they look like them, but they that don't have fire in them. So it's
I think
technically-
teaching a 4-year-old that thing that looks exactly like a gun can be really fun is probably not the best idea.
Nope.
But we'll
nothing
keep
could
it in
go
his
wrong.
future. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening to this week's of No Wrong Time to Rock. Bye! No buys from the other people? They don't want to say
GG.
goodbye.
No.
Fair enough.